Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Enigma Exchange. Today's podcast episode will be about the Mandela Effect and how mind blowing it can actually be if you decide to look into some of it. The first one, and I guess the most famous one, being with how it got its name, Nelson Mandela's death. A lot of people recall that he died in prison in the 1980s, but officially he died in 2013, which, if you think about it more and more, is pretty weird. Apparently, Looney Tunes was spelled Looney Tunes as in Tunes and not Tunes as in Toons, which I think is ridiculous. I mean, I personally remember the Looney Tunes being Toons, which, makes sense. Of course, everyone knows about the Berenstain Bears. Apparently, it's the Berenstain Bears, which is just an outright blatant lie. But we all have to believe it because apparently that's the way it is. Curious George's tail. When I was a kid, I remember there being a tail, and apparently there's not one. That is pretty weird to me. And I like to just take a moment to think about, when did all this stuff happen? Like, how did they change all this without anyone noticing? That's what I like to know. Another thing that I can't help but wonder is, I wonder how much research you can actually do into this stuff to find out how official it is and, what kind of rabbit holes you can actually get put into if you decide to actually do some research into some of the ones that are more so well known, or some of the ones that you know for a fact were changed, because you can probably find hundreds of thousands of people or pictures of certain events or certain pictures or certain logos that you remember when you were a kid being a certain way, but nowadays it's just not that same way. And I feel like exploring that realm of things is pretty cool. As I go through some of these, I want you to sit there and ask yourself, and I want you to actually try and remember how some of these logos, how some of these pictures, how some of these phrases were when you were a kid. And, let me know in the comments or even in the description, or if you're listening on Spotify, I'll have the questions down below, like, what do you remember it being as? Because I would like to know, especially compared to what I remember it being as. And of course, I'll eventually be bringing up these topics again with people in the future to see what they think about it and their opinions and what they recall from some of the stuff that's being brought up today. The next one would be Febreze. That you definitely used to have 2 E's. Now it only has 1. Well, it has 2. Well, it has a lot, actually. Febreze used to have 4 E's. Now it only has 3 E's. Some weird stuff. Oscar Mayer Wieners is actually Oscar Mayer Wiener. The shoe company, Skechers, that's another one. It used to be spelled Sketchers, but apparently it's spelled Skechers. Another weird one, and one that I can vividly remember being Fruit Loops, is spelled Fruit. Apparently they redid the design and the box, and they changed it to Froot, and they put like the same loops that they have in the word loops up in the word fruit, which I guess is kind of cool for design and would make sense. So I don't think that's necessarily a Mandela effect, but still something pretty weird. And I know we're just kind of delving right into things. I feel like that'd probably be a good approach with this one because, it definitely makes you think for a little bit and makes you want to look stuff up. So everyone in your free time, feel free to look into the Mandela Effect to blow your mind for a little bit, and I feel like you'll have a lot of fun. The Monopoly Man and his monocle. Apparently, he had a monocle back in the day. I actually never remembered that, but apparently he did, and now he doesn't have one. So now he kind of looks like the Mr. Peanut mascot. This one, you'll never believe. They took the black off my boy's Pikachu's tail. They took the black off my boy Pikachu's tail. How could they do this? He looks so naked without it. And I also see that on the bottom of the tail, it wasn't brown. So they basically just put brown on the bottom of the tail and took out the black on the top, which makes no sense. I think he looks so much better with the black on the tip of his tail. In your own time, I highly recommend looking into Pikachu's Mandela Effect in particular, because I feel like a lot of people are going to remember that one in particular, and I feel like it's definitely fabricated. Like, there's no way his tail was not black at the tip, you know? Like, when you look at the pictures, you'll know what I'm saying. Just definitely Google that one. The hyphen in Kit Kat, they took that away. I definitely remember there was a hyphen there for at least like 15 years. And I didn't even notice that. I'm today years old and I'm finding out that hyphen isn't there. And when I go to the store again, I expect not to see that hyphen there. Because if I do, I'm going to have some pictures to post. The Fruit of the Loom logo, it used to have the cornucopia behind it, but they removed it for some reason. It's being advertised that it just never had one to begin with. But that's just all around not true, right? Everyone used to wear the Fruit of the Loom underwear back when they were a kid, and, you know, when you look at it, can you recall there being a cornucopia on the bottom or on the tag? So I'm pretty sure I can. The very next one would be Cheez-Its. They definitely used to be like Cheez-Its, so ITZ, but apparently it's only Cheez-It. But that's just, you know, a whole load of malarkey. There's no way, because, I mean, who just calls, oh, hey man, can I have a Cheez-It? No, hey man, can I have some Cheez-Its? Why would they even change that? When did they change that? There's no way. I'm going to use Google Lens real quick. Wow, it really is just Cheez-It. There's no way. That's absolutely crazy. Again, in your own time, please look into this subject. It is absolutely fascinating, and I feel like you could definitely spend a couple hours searching through Google, seeing like what you might remember differently, and it definitely makes you think for a little bit. Double stuffed Oreos. Apparently, there's not a second F in the word stuff in Oreos. It's just one. Which is weird because that means it's not in proper English, but, you know, who cares? Who cares about that type of thing? No way. And now, before I say this, you know, don't hate on me. I'm not the biggest fan of Star Wars, and I may be a little bit misconstrued, but C-3PO is all gold, right? When did he get a silver leg? He has a silver right leg. I've never seen so much of a lie in my whole entire life. And apparently everyone else remembers him not having one, but now all of a sudden he has one. That is absolutely mind-blowing. The world is a lie. Flintstones is now spelled with 2 T's instead of just Flintstones. It's Flintstones, which is kind of awkward. Of course, the also pretty famous one, Luke, I am your father. Apparently, it was no, I am your father, which, I'm going to need a lot of convincing to believe that. Forrest Gump saying life is like a box of chocolates. Apparently, he also never said that, and he said life was like a box of chocolates. And I've watched that movie a good 100 times. I'm pretty sure he does say life is like a box of chocolates. If I go back through and watch that movie and he says was, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. That would actually be pretty scary. The Black Eyed Peas hit single Boom Boo Pow in 2008. It really came out in 2009. Fergie doesn't sing I'm so 2008, you're so 2000 and late. She says I'm so 3008, you're so 2000 and late. What? I'm going to have to listen to that real quick. That doesn't make any... It does not make any sense. I've listened to it and she clearly says I'm so 3008, you're so 2000 and late, but there's no way it was like that before. Something in the Matrix got adjusted. Someone's playing with time and they're just doing very devious things. Nothing serious, just making us all wonder. Another pretty well-known one would be Hannibal Lecter saying, "Hello, Clarice." Apparently, all he said was, "Good morning." There ain't no way. That's like saying he didn't go. There is one that says, people think that they recall learning that there were 51 or 52 states. I think you're just an idiot. And I think you need to go back to school. Sinbad never played a... I feel like you did. Sinbad. A movie called Shazam. So apparently the only Sinbad tape you can find is... I don't know. I cannot find the VHS tape or really anything about it, and all the pictures of the VHSs with Sinbad on it kind of looked doctored. So I don't know. Apparently it was Shaq, which I think is pretty crazy. Smokey the Bear is apparently just Smokey Bear. That is pretty weird. I feel like those commercials as a kid always advertised him as Smokey the Bear. So that is pretty conflicting, I will admit. Mickey Mouse's tail. I don't know, I don't remember him having a tail, but apparently he has one. And then of course the Star Trek famous one, "Beam me up, Scotty," was actually "Scotty, beam us up." Which was kind of weird to hear myself say it again. So it leads me to raise the question if the Mandela Effect really is something that we're all just perceiving as something to be happening, or if this is something that's kind of being subliminally put into our heads throughout many, 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 many years. And, we could always be potentially talking about, maybe there's certain, as some people would say, glitches in the Matrix, or possibly we're even delving in the parallel dimensions or bouncing back and forth between stuff like that. All these logos and all these events that we remember as kids and growing up just seem to happen to change in front of our eyes, and as you look into it, you can't find anything about it. It's like everything you knew about it was just one giant gaslight. And the more you look into it, the more crazy you start to feel. It is all just one big laugh that people are pulling, but obviously I can't confirm it. There's thousands of people out here all dealing with the same thing, but some people look at you and, they act like you're crazy for it, right? But I feel like everyone experiences a little bit throughout their life, and, the more that we explore it, the more left we are with questions than answers, I guess. It definitely challenges the understanding of our memory and our own reality, and I don't know if I would be able to call it a testament to critical thinking and the need for memory assistance at some point, or it could also be a glimpse into parallel realities and to a certain level, like a multiverse. Whatever the truth may be, it does continue to captivate our imagination all around the globe and inspire many, many, many debates. And, of course, when talking about the alternate dimension theory about the Mandela Effect or the parallel dimension or multiverse theory, you need to delve into a bigger spectrum of things. I definitely don't have infinite knowledge. I would like to think that sometimes our reality does bend a little bit, or at least change itself up to a certain point, because there's no possible way that everything just stays the same. The universe is ever expanding, and we don't know what's on the other side of it. Scientists have already said that there's enough planets in just our universe, in our galaxy, to replicate our own planet. Well, was it more than 5 or 6 times over? And that's just our universe. There's millions and hundreds of millions of different universes out there, and millions of hundreds of different planets. There's endless possibilities, and I encourage you to never, never stop looking for those answers, and to always challenge the bigger picture. Always look into things, and always keep an open mind when you do look into things, because you never know what you're going to end up finding out, and it is a pretty crazy world, so things may not always be what it seems. There's always endless possibilities to what can happen inside the world around us, and every waking moment there's something new that is going on. So you always got to keep an open mind about everything that is going on around you, and try to at least keep informed about all the small changes that are going on. But before we wrap this up to a close, I would like to add that I will be soon getting a better logo for the podcast, so you guys, have something better to stare at other than the roughly made logo that I currently have. And I plan to also add subtitles to the videos wherever applicable, to make it a little bit easier for people to understand, if they have troubles understanding me, or if they just are kind of listening on a muted TV. Then on the YouTube channel, you'd be able to watch it, but you'd be able to see what we're saying. And I'm going to try my best to do the subtitles myself, so they're accurate and they're not going to be too shoddy, because I know sometimes I'm watching those videos, or even sometimes I'm watching a movie, and the subtitles are 5 seconds late, or they just are terribly off on what the person is saying, and I cannot deal with that on my podcast. So I will bless you guys with accurate subtitles soon. I do plan on making a bunch of updates to the podcast. As my listeners grow, I'm going to be, of course, putting out more and more episodes whenever I can and whenever possible. I'm always going to be finding new subjects to research, new topics to talk about, so feel free to stay tuned. Pretty soon, I'm going to be touching a lot more base on conspiracy topics, possible gaming topics, a lot more life-oriented events, and and past history, just to kind of gather everything to a front. I'm just going to kind of bounce around between few topics until I can gather something that I want to stick to for the time being. So just bear with me in that aspect. I promise it won't take me that long, and I will try to be as interesting as I can, or at least as informative as I can be about topics, and I will always encourage people to do more research into it. I feel like going by day to day, knowing that stuff kind of just changes, does kind of freak me out a little bit, but it's comforting knowing that I'm not the only one that's affected by these weird changes, and I'm at least not the only one noticing it. You know, the whole internet community about the Mandela Effect makes you feel a little bit indifferent, only because, no one likes to admit that they have a lapse of judgment, and I actually think it's pretty funny that everyone, thousands and thousands of people all recall this one thing, but the very next day, they wake up and it's totally different than what they remember. It just helps give you a little bit of insight onto the crazy world that goes on around us. But I would like to thank you for joining us on the Enigma Exchange. As always, I am your host. Until next time, may we continue to explore, understand, and connect in the shared pursuit of knowledge and a better tomorrow. Have a good night.